All right. Good morning, everybody. You got to ignore the sound of them fans over there. That's we're making power, so that's just the way it is when it's sunny. This is a concept to pin Thwaites Glacier to the seabed cryogenically. Take it for what you want. Please use it. Discard what you can't use or whatever like that. But let me work you through the concept. This would be all modular. It would all be made inside of a factory setting. It would use like manageable sections where a gantry can pick them up, not human pick them up. To assemble it on site in Antarctic. The It would be chromium. Oh, I forgot. It's this right here. Okay, you got to look it up. But that would be the body surface. It would be extruded for the most part for about 1,800 feet. It would be nothing but an extruded body, so this would go fairly quick. There's a page here that's not here. It would be the 200 foot that would be below the glacier. It would be a double helix of return of flow and return is what it would come down to. In it doesn't show it like here, but I explained it to the AI how it would work, and the AI understood. And I couldn't draw it the way I wanted it. Is what I'm trying to get at. I just wanted to show the different cavities and what the cavities were for. It would actually be the body, and then inside would be a cold jacket that would take the cryogenic liquid downward around a returning hot jacket from the. They would be different cavities, but they would actually go to the same place. The cavities are so it can be extruded through the machine and manufactured like that is what it's for. But it would be cold on the outside, hot on the inside. In at about the 200 foot mark, where I'm saying there would be a manifold, an exchange manifold that would take the cold outside gas and put it to the inside, and then, like I said, make that convoluted matrix coming up the outside for the cold to exchange, the cold helium to exchange with the seawater. This would actually work fairly well, like really, really well, because at stupid cold helium temperatures, it would repin, it would make a bigger blob and a bigger anchor than I was first envisioning, is what I'm trying to get at, going through the numbers. These would weigh 164,000 pounds, but they would use the same displacement that a ship would, is when they're going in. Once they're installed, or once they're deep enough, then the 200 foot would be flooded. Somewhere here, there's the tip. There would be ports allowed in the exchange manifold to allow it to be flooded, and then it would become the anchor, and the weight, overall weight, would embed it into the seafloor. And que sera, we stopped the Thwaites Glacier from calving. It would take 84 sites, a 7, about 600 of these, but it's actually just one with a whole shitload of spare parts, because it's the exact same cookie cutter design. This is like the Model Ford of cryogenic probes for the ocean, is what I'm trying to get at. Nothing radical, nothing overcomplicated. Keep it as simple as you can. The upper section, let's see if I can get there. Yeah, the upper section would be it. Nothing looks this way. This is just for the flow, for the computer to understand. This would be the thorium reactor. Thorium with helium as the exchange, with a toroidal design in an electromagnetic bearing with the contact surfaces, would be the only thing that actually moves in this whole setup. Everything else would be solid state, is what I'm trying to get at. Even the body of the micro reactor, it would probably not even have to be 1 megawatt. It would just get it done quicker if it was. Is the upper reactors allowed to spin 30 to 60 revolutions per minute. that's actually governed by that electromagnetic bearing. In the like the electronics bay of this whole setup right here, the whole probe would go into the Earth underneath a gantry, a four-leg gantry. They already have these things. This is not reinventing the wheel, but it would be like snowmobile massive. This is like D9 size stuff. It would be a building that could set the entire grid of this little pin cluster, whatever, cryogenic pin cluster, at one shot, with a cross beam over a cross beam. So you could be drilling with one and then come with the other one and actually assemble the lowest sections of them. When you pulled off, you'd have like a overglorified snowcat, like massive steroid snowcat. It would be like a lowering crane that would actually set these reactors in place. They're not as heavy as they sound. That's why I'm saying nothing's to scale here. I wrote that down for the AI a few times. Nothing's to scale. Nothing's like that. Don't get excited about that. The unions would be cold forged, the same metal. It actually makes it stronger. The whole reason for using this metal is because the colder it gets, the stronger it gets. Most metals get brittle when they get strong or when they get cold. This is the opposite. That's why you use this. This is just a material stack that works, y'all. The reactor itself could have a second or like a secondary jacket, is like a NAC or whatever, just running through normal titanium radiators, or ceramic lined aluminum radiators, whatever. Ceramic lined aluminum radiators will stop the helium from escaping, and you can just directly cool that. It's a really good fluid. The NAC would just make it colder to make it go faster or more powerful. You wouldn't really need to at 1 megawatt. It would be self-regulated with the electric bearing. I don't want to make this any longer than it needs to be. These would be the unions, like I'm saying. They would be like aerospace kind of stuff, but cold forged and allowed to be as slim as they can to the body, is what I'm trying to get at. This would be one manifold at the tip. There would be another manifold at the 200-foot mark that would actually trigger this to allow the water in, and it would be the exchange from the outside cold jacket to the where it goes, where the hot air in that 1,800 foot would be hot on the inside, cold on the outside, so it doesn't affect the glacier itself or melt the cavern or something weird by leak thermal activity. Thermodynamics is what I'm trying to get at. What else? And then in the bottom, it would reverse that, and then the hot would go up the outside lattice, and the cold would be coming down the end. That's it, y'all. Oh, the unions would be, like I said, of the same material, so they could be completely like laser welded or whatever the best method to put this stuff together with. So it doesn't come apart in that temperature, that ultra cold temperature. And then plug welded as well to keep the rotational forces and stuff like that in check. But that's it. That's my proposition. I think I've covered everything. Oh, yeah, it's direct drive DC. The cryogenic pump, that way once it's set, you just forget it, you move on to the next site. You don't come back. There is no maintenance. It's all closed loop systems. The thorium reactor is its own helium closed loop system. Helium works just as good as like a liquid lithium or something like that. But it's not as caustic, so it's a better fluid. It's just harder to keep that little demon inside. And I'm not saying none of this stuff would never have to be recharged or anything like that. The modular design would facilitate that. Here, where it says radiator exchange interface right here, is there would be ports on the outside, so you could, if this wasn't working or didn't work good enough, or you needed it to amp up a little bit, you could put the same kind of radiators on stilts. These are about 50 feet above the glacier surface. But as the glacier rose, you could have radiators near the surface, is what I'm trying to get at, that would augment a group of 7 um, and you wouldn't really need to put any pressure on, like the Earth or whatever. Like you could have the 6 going into a collective. Oh hell, how to say that? Like these battery pucks that they're making in the cargo containers. They're like a megawatt, 3 megawatts, or whatever like that. It wouldn't have to be near that much. You just need enough DC power to crank this dude up to begin with. Charge it with helium, that gets the reaction going. Crank it up with voltage, that gets the spin going in the reactor. Then it starts making its own power, and it starts powering the compressor direct. And then the bearing, if the compressor needs to run faster, it spins faster, blah, 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 blah. But there's a limit to the cold side sink. So that's why I was meaning that you could add like a NAC jacket with titanium, blah, 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 blah. Okay, there's ways to amp this up. I'm just proposing this as my way to save, the Earth. Take that for whatever you want. It's my way to save the terrarium. Because if we don't stop this from calving, it's a catastrophic downhill domino effect until the Ice Age. The climate change thing, and they're saying it's the CO2. Yes, that's a problem. That's not what's causing this. As the ice melts off the polar caps, it's like a ballerina or one of them regulators on a steam engine. The balls move outward. The slower it gets, the balls move out, it speeds up. That moves in, just like the ballerina lifting and lowering her arms. She speeds up and slows down. That's what the ice cap is doing. As it's melting, it's allowing the Earth to microscopically speed up. I don't believe they missed the 2 blobs in the Earth. I think they're just starting to form, and they're going to get bigger because the Earth is starting to microscopically speed up, and it's throwing heat outward. It's thermodynamics. It's how this shit works, y'all. This can be our fixer using stardust as the fuel. Nothing else really works here. That little, like I said, every one of these sites, a container could be left that would use the excess DC that these things make. They would make a lot to keep the batteries hot, warm, even if they were buried underneath feet of snow and ice. It would not make any difference. But like the radiators on the surface, they could actually climb the center pole as they need to get higher. Because there would be augmented radiators somewhere. Right here, there's brackets that would mount. That's what right here it is. There's the other one. I'm sorry. I couldn't even see the paper and show you at the same time. But there's brackets that could climb the pole as needed to keep the radiators above. They wouldn't have to be 50 feet in the air to begin with. That would be kind of silly. But as they needed to move up, they could. That's the idea. They would never get snowbound or whatever because they're fucking hot. They're taking the heat out, is what it is and expelling it out into space. So, okay, that's just my take on this, y'all. See if you like it. Comment, whatever, share, subscribe, thumbs up. That's what I meant to say. Thumbs up. Talk to you then. Bye.